Not all projects are created equal. Some are fun and exciting to jump into, and some are more of a long haul. It's been over 4 months since I got the new lathe, and other than getting some power to it, and remaking one of the worn out lead screws, this thing has just been sitting here, glaring at me. Quite disappointed in the lack of progress while I work on apparently more important things. To be fair, I've also been equipping myself with tooling to either use with this machine or to repair it. And with this latest delivery, I'm ready to pick up where I left off. So what's in the box this time? That's not what I was expecting. Ah, here we go. This is a spindle for my Do More tool post grinder. Yes, the grinder already has a spindle, but 2 is always better than 0, right? This was sent along by a generous guy named Mike after hearing about some of my upcoming plans in a weekly update over on Patreon. He no longer had a use for it, and it was a perfect fit for my grinder, so he kindly donated it to my adventures. Side note, I was actually on the verge of ordering materials to make my own spindle, which sounded like fun, but having this one in hand has completely changed my mind on that. Now this spindle does have a different purpose, which I hope is evident by this long shank. It can grind inside holes. Technically so can this spindle, but obviously you can only go so small before... Whoop, hang on. Yeah, not a chance, spammer. Sorry, where was I? Ah yes. This new spindle holds much smaller stones and has an extended shank, making it perfect for even smaller, deeper bores. Bores like the tailstock of this lathe. Not too long ago I made this live center to fit in here, only to discover at the end of the build that the bore itself was completely foobar inside. Basically letting this thing wiggle all around, which is the antithesis of tailstock support. The simple way to fix this would be to buy a reamer similar to this one that matches this MT2 taper, and just clean up the bore. But as you may well know, I don't like simple. Simple is boring. So that's where this guy comes in. We're going to grind the bore of this tailstock back to new. That ain't going to happen mounted on here though. Luckily, I have a lathe to help fix my lathe. But I'm not just going to pop this thing on here either. That might be a little too exciting, even for me. Not to mention impossible. So we'll settle on the happy only ground and remove the quill from the tailstock. Ugh, grody. This end looks to have lead nuts that are eerily similar to the ones I remade recently for the compound slide of this lathe. And surprise, surprise, the spanner I made for that project works here too. One side project avoided. What is with these calls today? Anyway, I'm going to get these out of here so they don't get all gritty with grinding dust.
I caught it.
Okay, we're ready for the lathe, but there's one problem I've been pondering on, maybe a little too much. With how long this is, it's going to stick way out of the chuck. And that's probably stable enough, but not as stable as I'd like. So I'll bust out the old steady rest. Of course I don't want that thing rubbing on this debatably nice surface, so I'll have to make a little ring bushing type deal to slide on here to take the wear. Cue the side project counter. Wait, hold on. Are you kidding me? Okay, scratch everything I just said. There's plenty of room to slide this quill in further, and be better supported for... Ha, nice. This certainly did just get a lot easier, though I'm not sure if I should be happy or suspicious. Whatever the case, it means we can jump ahead and play with the tool post grinder. Ah, that's it. This is getting completely out of hand. Okay, truth be told, this is a bit of a dramatic reenactment. I used to get dozens of random scammer calls like this every week. That was until I signed up for Incogni, the sponsor of this video. If you're on the internet, which I have a sneaking suspicion you are, all of your deepest, darkest secrets are being collected. Your purchases, email address, phone number, location, social security number, even your watch preferences. And there's a massive, sketchy industry of data brokers that buy up this information, aggregate it into a profile about you, and either sell it to the highest bidder or just make all your personal info public. All of which could expose you to people with less than honorable intentions. Don't believe me? Do yourself a favor and Google your name and city. Comforting, right? The good news is you can have your information removed if you ask. The bad news is there are thousands of data brokers to ask, and this could take you years. That's where Incogni can help. When you sign up, you tell them who you are and grant them permission to act on your behalf. They then request removal from all these data brokers automatically, hound them until they comply, and will even take legal action to get the job done. It literally took me less than 5 minutes to get signed up, and I started seeing progress right away. Since then, the scammer calls have all but disappeared, and I even checked on those people's search sites and there's no trace of me anymore. But that doesn't mean there won't be in the future. The brokers are relentless, but so is Incogni. That's why I've gone with a yearly plan of Incogni to continue the work behind the scenes to keep my privacy private. Take your personal data back with Incogni. Use code INHERITANCE at the link below to get 60% off an annual plan. Alright, back to the setup. It should come as no surprise, being the impetus of this project, that I'll swap to the new internal grinding spindle. But with the wheel diameter being so much smaller, we need to increase the speed to something more appropriate. Somewhere north of 30,000 RPM seems to be the recommendation from the master, so I'll do a little switcheroo on the pulleys. Oh, and I should probably add some of the good luck sauce. Other than maybe grinding me a nice 6-pack, this spindle isn't going to do much hanging out here, so I'll swing it around to a more usable position, roughly parallel to the compound axis should do it. This really doesn't matter a whole lot because of this next step, which is dressing the wheel. No. There you go. This kind of dressing removes the unevenness in the wheel as well as gets the cutting face parallel to the cutting direction. It also makes a mess, so bear with me. Okay, moment of truth. Let's wind this bad boy up. Hot damn, this thing is hauling ass. It's actually kind of startling. Let's get to dressing before anything bad happens. Just a couple important things to point out here. First is that I'm feeding the wheel with a compound slide, since this is how I'll feed it when we get to the actual part. And second, I'm taking quite a bit off the diameter. Easy to overlook, but the wheel has to be smaller than the narrowest part of the Morse taper bore that I'm working on. Otherwise, well, I don't even want to think about what would happen with this thing spinning at 32,000 RPM. Things are going so smoothly so far.
Did I really just catch that on camera?
I knew it was too good to be true. I just knew it. Or maybe I plain old jinxed myself. I don't know, but clearly, we have a problem here. Doesn't seem to be an overheating issue. I mean, the motor was only running for a few minutes, and it's barely warm. Everything also seems to be copacetic with the brushes. I guess we're going to have to go a little deeper. Silly me for thinking this project wouldn't have scope creep. There were quite a few sparks huffing out the rear end of this thing, so good chance this is something electrical. Ding 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 ding! We have a winner. Pretty sure this dude shouldn't be freeballing it inside here. Not exactly sure what the deal with this spring is though, so let's take it apart. Not gonna lie, as inconvenient as this is, the 12-year-old part of my brain is in absolute heaven. Okay, everything seems fine on the rotor, visually speaking anyway. But inside the housing is another story. This is one of the two brush terminals, and on this side you can see a wire bound to it with a spring. The other side, not so much. Clearly something shorted out on this side. Or maybe after 50 plus years, the spring just gave up the ghost. Let's get a better look. Yep, that's definitely toast, but I think I can fix this. If it looks like a spring and acts like a spring, it's probably a spring. No way. It's almost like this little fella was waiting its whole life on the top of this box for this exact moment.
That was easy.
I think you can gather what I'm going to do from here.
There we go.
Good as new. Or dare I say, even better. Everything looks tucked away nice and cozy, so let's get the rotor back in here. I don't remember it making that clicking noise before. That doesn't sound good at finger speed, so I doubt it will at 15,000 RPM either. Clearly I must have missed something. Okay, after taking this thing apart and putting it back together several times, I noticed something odd. At no point did I secure the stator. The big round orange thing, that is. There must be a screw on here somewhere, and there's only one place I haven't looked. Bingo. I'll bet that's what I'm looking for. What's weird though is I didn't have to loosen this to get the stator out, so it must have worked itself loose all on its own. Not sure how I didn't have this problem before, but whatever the case, the stator's now secure, and my ticking sound is gonzo. But I feel like the universe is sending me a message that I should actually clean this filter element. Holy cannoli. I wasn't expecting that much of a difference. Now let's get this back in position and pick up where we left off.
Really?
Clearly, we had to try the switch a second time just to make sure.
What are you doing?
But what's weird is I didn't trip any circuit breakers. So I don't think I have a shorting problem, but maybe rather an overcurrent problem of some sort. Yup, that's exactly what happened. Again, I think this is my cue to call it a night. One restless sleep of lucid dreams later, I think I know what's going on. This is the terminal for the brushes that the spring secures around, and I believe I've made the faulty assumption that the spring itself should be making the electrical contact. But clearly that isn't the case because, well, it melted. Shouldn't be surprising given how small the spring's wire diameter is, so I'm going to do this again, but try to get the incoming wire to make really good contact with the brush terminal. After all this, I'm not exactly sure what the true intention of the spring is, to be honest. Maybe it's just an ease of manufacturing and assembly type decision. And if that's the case, the wire basically soldered directly to the terminal should be even better, right? Only one way to find out.
Here goes nothing. Again.
Success! I won't dare say we're in the clear yet. Let's just take it smooth and steady from here, shall we? After all that whacking around on the grinder, probably a good idea to redress the wheel. And with everything operational, we can finally get back to setting everything up. Yep, we still aren't ready to actually grind anything, but we're close. Remember, the bore of the tailstock is a Morse taper, so we have to set the lathe compound to match this angle, as accurately as I can get it. I don't have a Morse taper standard to reference, but I do have the next best thing. A completely, never before used Morse taper adapter sleeve. Kind of a special moment when I get to open something from my grandfather for the first time. This thing is probably older than I am. The idea is that I can use this as a guide to set up my angle. Now this is a lot of indicating, but it's pretty straightforward. First is centering up the adapter in the lathe, easy work with the 4-jaw chuck. Then mounting the indicator on the grinder itself and matching that angle. One thing I should mention here is that the indicator stem should technically be exactly on center line. Otherwise you can get something that I'll call hyperbolic error. I don't know if that's the right name for it, but take a look at the conic sections and you'll catch my drift. Or don't, and just remember that it needs to be centered. Okay, it's been quite a while, but we're finally getting to the good stuff. Let's get the quill in here. Hold on. Not without a little precaution first. These copper soft jaws have been a game changer for me. Almost makes up for the number of end mills I sacrificed in making them. Anyway, after even more indicating, we are finally ready to grind this sucker. Of course, for documentation purposes, let's take one last look at the mangled state of this thing. I'm pretty convinced anything we do at this point will be better than that, so let's go. Now I've never done this before, but this is going pretty well so far. When am I going to learn to shut my mouth? Well, it seems the wheel came loose on the end of the spindle here a bit, and now that I think about it, I don't recall actually tightening it. I'm honestly surprised it made it this far. Fortunately, I can't feel any real damage to the bore, so I'll give this a proper gronking, a redressing, and we can continue on our way. Now the 15 minutes or so I've been at this clearly makes me no expert at internal grinding, so I'm just using similar principles to surface grinding, namely that I'm keeping the feed rate into the part pretty small, somewhere around 2 to 4 thou per revolution. It's slow going, but puts all the grinding action at the leading edge of the wheel, leaving the rest of the wheel untouched. This ensures that everything gets ground to the right diameter all the way down the length, or diameters I should say. Okay, let's check the fitment. Nothing fancy needed, just some dry erase marker on the sleeve we've called our reference. Oh yeah, see where that wore off down here and not at the end? This tells me we're slightly off angle, but by how much? Well, let's run an indicator along the side of the quill using the compound. For this Morse taper size, we should get a taper of 50 thou per inch of length, and it looks like we're actually getting 51 thou, which jives with the marker test. This is probably the hyperbolic error I mentioned before because I wasn't exactly on center, or it could be from a slight tailstock misalignment. Long story, don't ask. Either way, it's easy enough to correct now with the indicator. Of course, I probably should have used this method when setting up in the first place, but I wanted to try something different with that sleeve. Okay, back to grinding. There we go. Consistent touch marks along the length is what we want to see, and in general the fit feels really secure. I think we just nailed it. And I haven't even shown you the best part. The absolutely beautiful surface finish. I mean, damn! Here's before, in case you forgot. I foresee a lot of time spent with this grinder in the future because I repeat, damn! Now this repair hasn't come without consequence. Obviously, we removed material to smooth out that bore, and we ended up making it larger about 0.1 of an inch. This may not seem like much, but at this really shallow angle, that means everything that mounts in here goes about 3/8 of an inch deeper than before. All this is to say, my live center no longer fits. Imagine that. I could shave some length off the end of the quill, but then I'd be eating into the scale etchings on here. Alternatively, I could remove some material off the back face of the live center, but I'm seeing an opportunity for something else. Something a little more extreme. Ever since making this live center, I just haven't really been happy with it, even after making subsequent corrections. You see, the problem with this thing is nothing is hardened. Not the tip, not the shank, nothing. So the first time I actually use this thing, it's going to get all chewed up. I mean, look at the Morse taper on it already. Time to shift gears a bit and for crying out loud. Oh, definitely got to take this one.
Hey sweetie, what's up? Go on a date with you. Where do you want to go? Oh, that sounds like a really good date. Okay, let me just wrap up this video real quick and I'll be right up. Alright. Got a hot date, boys?
Okay, well, I guess this will just have to wait until another time, won't it? As always, thanks for watching and see you next time.